What's up, everybody? So I didn't get into anything today. If I'm being completely honest, I was waiting on a couple different POIs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through sort of what I was looking for. And then I'm also actually going to have a very special guest, one of our new members, Mr. Knight. And he's going to jump on right after I'm kind of done doing my spiel, because he's actually taken a trade that I didn't necessarily see. Again, I looked for very specific criteria, looking for structure points, all that kind of stuff. But he was able to get into a really, really nice position. So I'm actually going to let him share his screen a little bit later on in this session, kind of go through his thought process. We won't be doing like a crazy Q&A or anything like that with him, just because I don't want to overwhelm him too much. I just want to get him to kind of explain his process. And yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing moving forward. And I think this might be a really good opportunity to kind of allow this to happen a little bit more often than not. With respect to anybody who's taking trades that do technically fit criteria, they just don't sit in maybe like the highest probability section in terms of like looking at structure points and stuff like that. So if that's something that's of interest to you, and let's say you take a trade, make sure that you trade or put it in the end of day markup section, and just make sure to tag me and just say, hey, I took this. I realize you didn't, maybe you didn't take it or whatever it is, and would love to show people my thought process. So if that's something that interests you, I'm more than willing to have more people kind of step forward, and I'll also be able to kind of host these webinars with me. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is basically start to look at what basically price has done in the New York session. So first thing I've noticed is the 15 loss. So that was the first thing. So break a structure. Ideally, we want to come back in to mitigate at least within the supply range, right? So if we look at the range, we essentially have this entire area like this. So did we come into it? Barely. So personally, this is an unmitigated range for me. We talked about mitigations, or I did a video on mitigations. Another example of that is, we've kind of got built up liquidity across mitigations here, which will likely get ran at some point or another. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. Just means that it's generated for some sort of a later date to run it as buy side liquidity. So right now, essentially what I was looking at the bare minimum was going to be this flip zone, right? Like this is the interaction that happens right at the level where we've essentially broken through. But ideally, what I wanted to see was something kind of coming up into this guy right here, right? This last push up before the push down, we can see that we had built up mitigations across like this, right? And we swept above and then immediately crashed down. So that was more of like my area of interest that I was looking for. However, I was monitoring this. I just had an alert on it. Nothing got triggered. So this morning when I was a little bit busy, just didn't have the opportunity to jump in anything based on none of my stuff getting triggered. So yeah, let's, I just want to jump down onto the lower time frame just for a second and just show what it is that I would have looked for and stuff like that. So I saw these beautiful equal high sort of building. I thought we were going to do some form of a sweep down and then possibly either come up to here or into here and then look for criteria in either of these levels. Obviously, that's not what ended up happening. And yeah, I just stuck to my narrative and allowed myself to sit on my hands for the remainder of the session based on the fact that my criteria wasn't met. So what I'm going to do is stop my share. But yeah, does everybody, before we continue further, I just want to make sure, does everybody understand why I was able to sort of sit on my hands today rather than not necessarily force trades, but this was a high probability, number one, this was the ultimate high probability setup. So just want to make sure everybody understands that. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Not much you can do. You just sit here and wait, right? Didn't get into anything. No reason to get into any kind of trades if you don't feel confident in the analysis. And like I said, like this might sweep up into here now and then drop like a bag of bricks. There's all kinds of different things that can happen, right? So anytime we break through like 15-minute supply at this point, I would consider this probably a counter order flow move. So look for the appropriate settings to be able to basically be able to do this and take these positions. So yeah, without further ado, Knight, you want to throw your mic on, brother, and just maybe introduce yourself.
Hey Tyson, yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, am I audible?
I just
Hello?
lost. Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
I can
hey
hear
Tyson,
you.
can you hear me? Yeah, you guys can hear me? Yeah. Hey guys, yeah. My name's Abel Menezes. I'm based in the UAE, like United Arab Emirates. So I live here, and yeah, I just hopped on to Fractal Markets. I think 2 weeks back. It's almost my mid-second week right now, and yeah, I just hopped on a very beautiful trade today, and I would just like to share my thought process. on
Yeah,
it.
give me 2 seconds, and I'm just going to allow you
Sure,
to be able
no
to
worries.
share your screen. So you have the floor right now, though.
Sure, no worries. I think let me just try. Yeah, I think it's working now. Yeah, can you guys see my chart? Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
beautiful.
good.
Yeah, all good. Yeah. Okay, so the same thing as Tyson was looking at. I had my alerts set for the most high probability setups like over here, these supply ranges based on the pre-narrative call that we spoke about. But yeah, so I think the reason why I took this trade would be there would be just one psychological drawback would be that it's been like over a week and a half that I got my hands into a trade, and I think it must have driven me to take this trade. So as I always have, I have this motive of saying that I need to take my trade based if a criteria is met. So if I see a criteria being met based on the flowchart and some tweaks here and there, I would just hop on the chart. So let me just go ahead. So we had this 15-minute a POI right here. Yeah, the break wasn't that clean. So this was a risky POI. The main ideal one would be this because we had equal highs as well. But yeah, I just wanted to hop on and check out whether we could take a trade off this. Plus, we also had liquidity being built up towards this POI as well. So on the 1 minute, I think it's much more clearer. Yeah, it's right here. And then we had the break of structure from this POI. And I was looking at the 1 minute chalk and flip that we can see over here. It's not the most ideal one, but yeah, this is what I was looking for. So we had a chalk and a flip, and then we had the VSR. We had a come in. Plus, then I went down to the 5 second within the 1 minute supply. 1 second.
Nice and clean.
Yeah, this was the trade. So I had the entry. We had built up mitigation into the 1 minute supply range. We had a chalk. We had a flip. And yeah, that's pretty much how the trade went.
Liquidity to target was a really important one here, guys, as well.
Exactly.
The other thing that I want to note, and to give this trade a little bit more credibility, is that we did have a form of inducement that shaped up over here to be able to sweep us into this very specific area. And I believe if you go over to the left, if I'm not mistaken, there might be something refined that we're actually reacting to. Yeah, so we're actually...
Yes, let me just go a bit.
Yeah, so we're actually reacting to
Yeah.
this guy right here, right? Which is a form of a flip before the break of structure. We have inducement built up before we actually mitigate the most extreme portion of it. This comes from an area that takes liquidity. If you actually had this guy drawn out as well, this would have given this a lot cleaner POI. Just FYI, and little details, right, that might actually help you a little bit. So we get that initial drive in, we get inducement, and then we sweep the actual POI itself. So depending on how you looked at it, and again, I'm not doing this to discredit your work, man. This is great work.
No worries, man.
But I'm just showing you another couple ways, and for anybody who's watching, that there's a few other ways that you could have interpreted the same data. And I think the way that I had it sort of marked out in hindsight was off of this level right here, which obviously, like, depending on how you view this, pro counter order flow, but technically it's a pro order flow move. Ideally, what we would look for is still that realignment. You probably could have got in a little bit more aggressively on maybe the 5 second. If you can just jump down on your time frame. I'm not sure exactly what it produced, but
yeah, this was it.
Yeah, so nothing super clean. So again, same thing. We still got the 1 minute chalk. Reevaluate, basically get a realignment of order flow on the 5 second, exactly like you have it. We have built up liquidity, sweep in, perfect entry. In my opinion, this is a perfect example of how a flip would be relevant, just based on the fact that we have oh my God, lower time frame liquidity to be able to take into the actual flip zone. And then immediately after we have built up mitigations and built up equals to be able to run price into. So awesome work, dude. I think this is a great trade. Personally, just not quite fitting my criteria, but like you were saying, basically what ends up happening is, waiting for these pro trend, pro order flow moves. It does take a lot of patience. And what ends up happening more often than not is if you go 3, 4, 5, 6 days, sometimes without getting into a trade, which won't be the case, sidebar, that won't be the case once you actually fully start to adopt this strategy. You'll usually get 2, 3, 4 trade setups per week. But what happens in the early stages, once you're starting to actually apply it, you don't get to see all the things that you would normally see. And we're a lot more selective with our process. So nonetheless, man, great work. And thanks for sharing.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Tyson. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, guys, I'll open up for a couple questions. If anybody does have any questions about what happened in price today, or just generalized questions, let me just jump out. And that V shape was nice. Yeah, man, super great trade idea. So yeah, I guess like moving forward, like obviously I'm not really looking to take any trades today unless we hit something. I probably wouldn't even look at this flip anymore. Well, I shouldn't say that. I may look at it with the right confirmations. But yeah, alerts are set here. Alerts will be set here. And basically look for, like I said, the realignments that are necessary. But you have to remember now we're reacting to the actual absolute extreme as well. So just be very mindful that in order for us to take any sort of longs, the areas that we want to see broken in order for it to be pro trend would technically have to be this level right here, right? So we want to be able to see some form of chalk and flip, but the idea is that we're still trading the 15-minute pro trend to take sells, but I would say it would be counter order flow if and when we break above this level. So we just need a realignment to be able to take the sells, and I would only take that maybe into demand levels down here, and then ultimately look for a possible break of structure, and then we can start looking at getting into the new pro trend M15 if and when that happens, right? So just remember that anything that you take that is a long position is counter trend until this level right here is broken and closed above. Everybody understand that? 1 in the comments if you're good, 2 in the comments if you have a question. Cool. Awesome. Okay, guys. What else did I have to say? Can't remember. Oh, yeah, no, don't remember. My bad. Yeah, so leave it at this for now. And ultimately, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. But like I said, if you want to get involved in something a little bit later on this afternoon, which there's no harm, we are inching closer and closer to spread hours, by the minute here. So just be mindful of the fact that, like, the closer we get to spread hours, the more exposure you're going to have to potentially getting spreaded out. So yeah, just be mindful of this stuff. So another thing too is we will be releasing the dark theme chart. I'm hoping it's going to be finalized. I'm just kind of tinkering around with a couple of the drawing tools, and obviously you guys can fine tune it to whatever you want at some point or another. And yeah, hopefully get that out today with our annotations. And I'm going to open up a channel for our pre-New York narratives as well, to be able to have some sort of a markup system so that we can actually post our new little markers that Dave has been so kind to develop, I guess you could say. So we've got the pro trend, counter order flow, all these different things. So all these different templates depending on what area we're in. So what we'll do is this will help you to align with the flow charts. Like basically, if we're looking to take a trade from this area, we would be counter order flow because we're leaving from the higher time frame demand. And if we have to break above a supply zone sitting down here, this would be a counter order flow move. So we would actually have this guy right here, counter order flow general, and then we would have some form of like a refined POY where we would say, okay, well, ultimately this area right here is your refinement. So this entire area is this, and then your refined area would be something along the lines of this. So yeah, starting I don't know if we'll start tomorrow, but definitely starting next week, depending on whether or not I get some stuff wrapped up today. So yeah, that's basically it. Up to sort of look forward to, that we're obviously looking to refine and make things as clear as possible. But yeah, that's basically it. Gustavo, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, if the low goes, you'll just continue to look for shorts, correct? Until
Yeah.
you get
Yep.
a structure break higher.
Exactly. There's no reason to look for long. Like I'm not trying to pick bottoms. That's really what it boils down to, man. I've taken enough fucking losses in my life trying to pick bottoms out, and I'm not going to be refining down to some 15-minute, demand POI that's underneath a structure point, whatever it is. I'm going to let the market essentially come to us, and ultimately, can we agree or disagree that we're going to prove to have some form of reaction off of this high, right?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
So if that's the case, the bottom line is we're going to trade that, and ultimately, once, if and when it doesn't take out the low, obviously we're going to look to take partials and stuff like that. Once we actually break through, then we can start to reevaluate what our new pro trend might be.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it takes time to develop, pretty much, right?
Yeah, and then once it's developed, like the idea is to get us in the highest probability setups, right? And the easiest way to get into the high probability setups is let structure shift, let it realign, so that we can actually understand where we're going next.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So it's very minimal in terms of the amount of trade ideas that are available for per week. I would say that we have anywhere from like one to 5, depending on obviously the week and stuff like that. But the idea is to just put us in the most high probability scenarios possible, so that we know how to capitalize on pro trend market structure.
Oh, okay. And you're not trying to anticipate anything, right? You're just.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, like I said, I'm a chicken, man. And running your own capital, running funded capital, whatever it is that you're running, even if it's just a demo, it just kind of takes a lot of like the stress away from like actually trading when you're just following what the market's doing, right? So we're not trying to predict it. We're just trying to follow it around. And right now the money is moving down, and until it stops moving down and proves that it's moving up, we got no reason to look for longs. Cool. May I ask a question regarding London, PA? Sure. Go ahead.
Hey, Tyson. I just have a quick question regarding to this PA that happened in London Open, because I traded London today as well.
Okay.
And basically we've hit this M15 doji or POI.
Yeah. Right.
And we've also hit like a 1-minute refinement. It was a decision within the POI.
Okay.
So could you quickly go through one? I just want to make sure, like, whether there was a valid trade or not, because what I saw, basically, we hit this doji on the left, and
Let me just go over here. I just want to see which one you're talking about. Which one here?
it was this one, and
Okay.
it was like basically about a liquid region. Like at first I wasn't looking at it, but considering how aggressive move away from the POI we saw, or I saw, I started like being a little bit more interested in that.
I just want to see what if we tap into.
It did not actually hit this one. It hit that doji.
Okay. Yeah. So let me just go back down onto
Like
the.
at first I didn't have it marked.
But you saw what it was reacting to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would like, obviously it's not like a perfect, yeah, definitely not as clean as something like I said, like
I was looking at this one mainly.
Yeah.
Because it swept this like liquidity.
I would say like this whole region right here would have been probably what I would have looked at, would just be like that push that takes liquidity. But like nonetheless, man, when you got to remember that POS, so refinements happen after we see what we're reacting to a lot of the times, right? Like you can have a bunch of refinements drawn in here, but like the way that I usually do this is, okay, let's go like this. And so like, let's say we do something like this, okay? And we're sitting at price right here. We've changed order flow, right? Like we've order flow realignment. So what I look for is like, okay, like what are all the clues? Well, we've had a sweep, right? We've had inducement, we swept the sweep. And now what I'm looking at is, okay, well, ultimately we've tapped into something right here, right? So now what I'll do is I'll go over to the left and see if there's anything relevant that makes sense, right? So now I would say, okay, well, we're reacting to the doji. We're above the liquid region. We've seen a V-shaped recovery. We've basically mitigated 50% of the overall POI. And then I would start looking at, yeah, potential areas to get involved, right? So now we can see the built up mitigations again. And now I would look at obviously the sweep.
So how I was looking at it, I was looking at it pretty much the same way. I saw the chart, V-shaped recovery, flip. I said the flip caused the chart, but then price started to be very corrective. And I saw, okay, this is a valid POI to trade from.
That's right.
But like we went from this POI. My question is this something you would like look to trade from?
Well, I would probably, if I'm being completely honest, I probably would have taken a position in here and then managed, right? So if I get swept out, I know full well that we have an unmitigated POI that's resting above here that actually takes liquidity, which is a higher probability setup, especially on, and like, this is what I'm always kind of preaching about, like the delivery out of the POI is more important than anything. And you can see that the delivery is very poor, right?
It's not right.
So
no, I agree.
That gives me more interest, and all that's going to do is allow me to just manage, right? I'm still expecting this to get hit. I'll just move over to break even in case it decides to drop. But ultimately, the bottom line is we've come down and we've basically mitigated some form of demand, and we're probably going to push up into this guy, right? And what I'll do is just go like this. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I would have taken the flip in this case as well. But I would have been mindful of this, right? So that just would have affected how I would have managed my position, right? Like I said, with the poor delivery like this, I would have just waited, boom, and this will probably sweep right out. Okay, got equals. Does it end up going up there?
No, it never tapped it. We got from here, which, to be honest, like I was not interested at all, like considering how like, this was shaping up basically at the time.
Gotcha. Oh,
I view that as a perfect inducement. Basically, we had liquidity to take, POI, and liquidity to target as well.
Yeah. So I would have viewed this the exact same way, man. And I probably would have stayed and just waited for this. And if it didn't get tapped, I wouldn't force the trade.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Go ahead, Knight.
Ita, yeah, I don't have a question per se, but I just wanted to put in a word of gratitude. Basically, thanking you for what you're teaching us like on a daily basis and putting the content out and like putting in the work, which is helping a ton of traders like me and others in the community. So yeah, I just wanted to put in a word of gratitude.
Thank you, man. I
That's
appreciate
pretty much it, man.
We're constantly striving towards simplicity, and I appreciate the kind words, man. We got lots of stuff in store. We're going to have a brand new website hopefully coming out in the next month or so with a members portal, the whole bit. It'll go down to a monthly subscription. Like we got lots of stuff that's in the works too, man, and just kind of like, again, just kind of simplifying this approach constantly. And yeah, like I said, like the best way for us to really develop this together as a community is with the content suggestions, anything that you feel that you need because there's a lot of stuff that we do that we sort of overlook, or at least I overlook, because I don't want to be so egotistical to say that like a lot of the stuff comes as second nature because I've seen it so many fucking times, right? So anything that we can do to be able to better you guys as traders, feel free to either hit me up in the DMs, content suggestions, hit up Dave, hit up Dana, any of the coaches, and we'll be happy to make an effort to make it easier for you. So thank you very much for the kind words, man. Thank you guys for joining in. And if there's anything that you guys need, you guys know where to reach us. Feel free. Of course, I'm not going to sit here and shill our community. Obviously, everybody's very much on their own journey, and they might have different views of where they sit within the community. The best way to obviously share the love is obviously in the review section. It does help us out and gain credibility in the Forex industry. I'm sure you guys know it's a pretty shoddy industry to begin with, especially when it comes to education. So if you're feeling good and you actually mean something and kind of can put your name on how you feel about the community, feel free to leave us a review at any time, man, and we'll be happy to post it up. So thank you guys again. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early, 5:10 a.m. Eastern time. Cheers, guys.